You know, a lot of people always ask me what my favorite era in pro wrestling is. And, you know, there's a couple good eras since I've been around. And, you know, the mid to late 80s was great because that's when wrestling was really starting to become a media conglomerate. The Attitude Era, obviously, was really, really, really awesome. A lot of intense type of stuff going on between ECW, WCW, and WWE. But there's one year I want to focus on, and I call it the last great year in professional wrestling. And the reason I say that is because throughout the whole year, I'm talking January through December, it was just an awesome, awesome, awesome year. 2001, as you well know, marked the end of the Monday Night Wars, and um, one company was left remaining. It all started in January of that year when WCW was sinking and ECW had already been bought out by Vince McMahon and WWE. So March 26, 2001, I believe, it was actually the Monday before WrestleMania 17. Uh, Vince McMahon came on WCW Monday Nitro and announced that he had bought WCW. And just from there on, you could see, you know, the potential of what it could be. And you think about 2001. Every pay per view that year was meant something. Like it, it was just you know how do I say it? Um, there was significance to everything that was going on. Like for example, I'll just run down the list for you. Uh, Royal Rumble, main event of the Royal Rumble. Other than the Royal Rumble match itself, was Kurt Angle versus Triple H. That started out the year. No Way Out, 2001. The main event was The Rock versus Kurt Angle for the WWE title. And also in that pay per view, Triple H took on Stone Cold Steve Austin in a three stages of hell match. You know, then we jump to my favorite WrestleMania of all time, WrestleMania 17. Uh, just everything about this WrestleMania was spectacular. Um, you had Shane McMahon versus Vince McMahon, Kane versus The Big Show versus Raven in a hardcore match, Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit in a wrestling classic. The first ever, actually the second ever TLC match with the Dudleys, the Hardys, and Edge and Christian. You also had the 19-man gimmick battle royal and Undertaker versus Triple H, the first time they met at WrestleMania. And I might have to add that was the better of the WrestleMania matches that they had. And then we skip to Backlash. The main event of Backlash that year was a two-man power trip of Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H taking on Kane and The Undertaker, and all the titles were on the line. So that was really cool to see that too. The you know, Triple H wound up. I think yeah, it was yep. Triple H wound up defeating Kane, I believe it was. Kane, actually no. Kane and The Undertaker were the tag team champions, and Steve Austin and Triple H took the tag titles from the Brothers of Destruction. And also, you know, even some other great matches were, you know, Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle again, Matt Hardy versus Christian versus Eddie Guerrero. You had Rhino and Raven in a really, really, really crazy hardcore match, you know. So that was Backlash. Then we move on to the England pay per view, which was Insurrection. Um, The main event of that, well, let me look here. The main event of Insurrection was, let's see here. Let me think here. Main event was, hang on, I'm looking all this up as we. The Undertaker defeated uh, Triple H and Stone Cold Steve Austin in a handicap match. So that was that was some good stuff, and that was Insurrection. Not too many people remember Insurrection, but still, yeah, it was fun to watch. Then we move on to Judgment Day, which at this point, Triple H, Triple H and Austin were still the tag team champions, but they were in singles competition. Stone Cold took on The Undertaker for the WWE title, and Kane took on Triple H for the Intercontinental title. And there was also a tag team turmoil match, which saw Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit win that to become the number one contenders to the tag team champions, which the following night on Raw, that's when Triple H got injured in the tag team match, which saw Jericho and Benoit win the tag titles. So, it was already this is May already. So it was a momentous year already. I mean, Stone Cold, obviously was, started out as a fan favorite, then became heel, and, Stone Cold did a lot of things that year. And we move on to King of the Ring. The King of the Ring tournament was won by Edge, which really, really catapulted Edge's singles career. It also had a really fantastic street fight between Kurt Angle and Shane McMahon, which both guys got severely injured in that match. Couldn't believe it. And then the main event of that pay-per-view was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Chris Benoit versus Chris Jericho in a triple threat match, which was just a great match. And unfortunately for Benoit, that'd be his last match for over a year due to his neck injury. But the surprise of that night was there's two surprises. Booker T showed up, and Diamond Dallas Page started started doing this thing with the Undertaker, because he was the storyline was that DDP was the Undertaker's wife Sarah's stalker. And so DDP showed his face, and Booker T showed his face in the main event as well. Then we move on to Invasion, when the Alliance, as in WCW and ECW, ran by Paul Heyman, Stephanie McMahon, Shane McMahon, started coming together and threatening the WWE's well-being. The main event of that pay-per-view was called the Inaugural Brawl match, and it was 5-man. It was a 5-on-5 tag match. It featured Booker T, Diamond Dallas Page, Rhino, and the Dudley Boys taking on Steve Austin, Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, The Undertaker, and Kane. And Stone Cold had a lot of movement in terms of fan favorite, being booed to fan favorite to being booed. Well, this time he turned his back on WWE, excuse me, and joined the Alliance, which I always thought was kind of funny because Austin hated WCW for firing him and loved ECW, so it was kind of a funny little thing. And also in that pay-per-view, it started a series of matches between Rob Van Dam and Jeff Hardy, which it's like, wow, classic. Just great stuff between both of them. Both of them had everything going on, and it was good stuff. Next pay-per-view was SummerSlam. And at this point, The Rock had been out for a few months filming The Scorpion King, but he came back to main event at SummerSlam for the WCW championship against Booker T. And also in that match, let's see, Kurt Angle took on Stone Cold Steve Austin in a really, really great classic, and had a good finish, which set up for things later to come. Also, the Brothers of Destruction took on Diamond Dallas Page and Canyon in a steel cage match. Edge defeated Lance Storm for the Intercontinental Championship, and it was SummerSlam that year was just off the charts in terms of what was going on. Then we move on to Unforgiven, which was the main event of that pay-per-view. Was Kurt Angle going out against Stone Cold Steve Austin. Kurt Angle won in his hometown, which was a great little story, considering this pay-per-view was 2 weeks after 9/11. And so it was a great story to have, an Olympic gold medalist from America win the WWE title. Also on that card, we had The Rock taking on Booker T and Shane McMahon, Rob Van Dam taking on Chris Jericho, and Christian, who's going for his singles run, defeating Edge for the Intercontinental Championship. So Christian, this was really the beginning of Christian's singles career as well. Obviously, 10 years later, he's finally getting his just due as a main eventer and as a world champion. So you can always look back to 2001 as being his, the start of his very, very slow rise, So we move on to No Mercy, which ended up being it was okay. There was a triple threat match for the WWE Championship in which Stone Cold Steve Austin regained the WWE Championship by defeating Kurt Angle and Rob Van Dam in a triple threat match. And you could really tell at this point that Rob Van Dam was going to be something big in WWE because he was starting to get those main event matches. You also had Chris Jericho finally winning the big one, as they say, and defeating The Rock for the WCW Championship. So, that's Chris Jericho, who had been in WWE for already 2 years after leaving WCW, was finally starting to get his just due. Because Chris Jericho always had a lot of talent and was never ever put to good use in WCW, except for his time as Cruiserweight Champion and doing the whole rock and roll of Isla Toa type stuff. So we move on to another British pay-per-view. I believe it was let me think here, Rebellion. Rebellion was okay. Stone Cold Steve Austin, defeated The Rock to retain the WWE Championship. You also had Chris Jericho defeating Kurt Angle to retain the WCW Championship. So, the alliance stuff was even brought over to the British states, Europe states or countries, and it was a big thing. The alliance thing was huge that year. And then we move on to Survivor Series, the finale, the ending of the alliance angle, and this Team WWF versus Team Alliance. Team WWF was made up of The Rock, Chris Jericho, The Undertaker, Kane, and The Big Show. Team Alliance was made up of Steve Austin, Rob Van Dam, Kurt Angle, Booker T, and Shane McMahon. Great 45-minute match. I mean, a lot of these 5-on-5 matches never really go that long, but this was a great 5-on-5 match that went about 45 minutes. At the end, Kurt Angle turned his back on the alliance and helped The Rock defeat Stone Cold Steve Austin to give full control back to the WWE and Vince McMahon. The Dudley Boys defeated the Hardy Boys in a steel cage match for the unification of the WCW and WWE tag titles. Edge defeated Test for the unification between the United States Intercontinental Championships, and let's see, Test won an immunity battle royal because he was in the alliance, and so he was immune from being fired. So it was a monumental pay-per-view. It was a great way for the alliance angle to end. But even after the alliance angle ended, WWE had one more pay-per-view that year, and that was Vengeance. And that was, I'm sure if you hear Chris Jericho talk about saying, oh, I defeated The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin in the same night. That is the night he is referring to. Chris Jericho defeated The Rock. Stone Cold Steve Austin defeated Kurt Angle to meet for the title unification match. And Chris Jericho won. He became the first ever undisputed WWE champion, which was huge for him because he had never gotten his credit for being a great star. Also, it was one of The Undertaker's first pay-per-view as a heel in quite some time. And he defeated Rob Van Dam in a hardcore championship match. And also in that pay-per-view, first ever meeting between the Hardy Boys against each other. Jeff Hardy defeated Matt Hardy with Lita as a special guest referee. So, really showed what both Hardy Boys could do in that pay-per-view. So that was always great to see. So as you can see, I mean, just by the pay-per-views and the matches alone, 2001 was a great year in pro wrestling. I can't think of a better year from January to December than 2001. And, it was unpredictable. You never knew who was going with the Alliance, who was sticking with WWE, and it was all around good stuff. So that's my thoughts on my favorite year for professional wrestling. I call it the last great year of professional wrestling because, like I said, the whole year all around was just phenomenal. So that's all from me, and I hope you enjoyed this little segment. 2001, remember it, baby. And that's the bottom line because Hollywood's World of Sports says so.